Yo, what's happening, people? So I'm going to quickly go through some stretches that I do on a daily basis, and something that's becoming increasingly evident to me working with male clients of my age, that basically don't stretch enough. This is not exclusive to just men, but predominantly in my experience now, I'm finding men of my age in their 40s and 50s as well, who are predominantly very, very inflexible, don't spend any time at all doing any stretching pre or post exercise, and are now finding that ultimately that's having an impact on their lives, not just in the gym but outside. So I'm going to take you through just about 5 minutes effectively of things that I do on a daily basis to help with my mobility, to help me stay strong. Ultimately, if you haven't got good mobility, that's going to impact on what you can do in the gym in regards to your strength. It's going to impact on your range of motion, and ultimately in the end could lead to an injury. So we're going to come down to the floor. I'm going to start off really simply in an exercise called a lizard. Now I'm going to show you a progression and a regression through this. Okay, so to start with, I'm going to bring my hands down to the floor. So I'm going to come sideways on so you hopefully can see my rear leg as well. I'm going to collapse that back foot. It's entirely up to you whether you go onto your toes. I prefer to be here in that position so that back foot's comfortable and flat. Now I'm going to bring both my palms down to the floor and on the inside of that foot. So that should be quite comfortable in that position. You should have a nice stretch in this hamstring and the front leg here, and a tiny bit in the hip flexor at the back. Okay, from this position here, I'm going to try now, this is my progression, I'm going to try and work my elbow down to the floor. Okay, if that feels uncomfortable and it feels like ultimately you can't get to that position, that's fine. If you're in a position where, excuse me, even that is too much of a depth, either use some yoga blocks if you've got them to hand, or if not, just some books either side of your hands just to bring it up the floor, basically the base level that you're reaching to, excuse me, so it's a little bit easier for you to reach the deck effectively. Okay, so in that position here, and just holding for 10 to 20 seconds, I'm just going to bring both my hands on the inside. And now again, I've talked about the regression. The progression I'm going to go on to is trying to bring both my elbows down to the floor in this position here. So I can feel that in that rear hip flexor, and like I said, reiterating in that front hamstring. From this position here, I'm going to ease back. Now it's applying a little bit of pressure on your knees. So anyone who's got sore knees at home, who's had, like myself, has had a knee issue, you can pad underneath this. So I'd recommend getting a nice foam yoga mat. Pop your hands either side of your quad and look towards your hips. From this position here, you get a nice stretch through your lower back and through that front hamstring here. If you want more of a stretch, bring the toe towards you and you'll feel that sciatic nerve stretch as well coming through the rear of the leg. Again, about 10 to 20 seconds here, and then ease forward again into that lizard. See if you've got a little bit more progression. Can you go down a little bit deeper? If you haven't, it's not okay. You're just working gradually towards it. The first step being to try and see if you can get that elbow down. And again, go back into the hamstring stretch again, looking towards the hips. So I'm curving my spine a little bit and get a stretch in my lower back. Once I've done that on both sides and repeat it twice, I'm going to come over to my right leg and repeat the same process. And just allowing that exercise and that stretch to open up my hips. When I feel comfortable, see if I can progress. Can I bring it down? Can I bring that elbow down? Can I potentially get both elbows down? Now, on my right side, I seem to be a little bit less flexible, a little bit less mobility on that right side. This can be for a number of reasons. This being my dominant side, working when I'm boxing, using my right arm more, catching pads, that kind of thing. It might be from driving, it might be from your sitting position. So just when you're doing these stretches, it's good to see in isolation, seeing your left and your right, so you can see if there is a little bit of an imbalance, or it is a little bit of a weakness, or a little bit more tightness on one side. Okay, ease back again to the hamstring stretch, bringing that toe towards me if you can, look towards the hips. Again, 10-20 seconds, come forward, again, see if you can work yourself down to the floor. And again, allow that hamstring to open up. And for those of you who are saying there's no way I can get to that, I was in your position once as well, where my mobility was really shot. and I wouldn't even be able to get my hands down to the floor in this position. I would have to build it up with maybe a yoga block or with some books either side of me to get into that posture. And again, easing back, another 20 seconds here in this posture here. If that's too much tension on your knee, just shift up and you come into that position here. And again, like I said, if you're in a position where your knees feel uncomfortable, pad underneath them and make sure you've got a little bit more stability there. So that's number one. From there now I'm going to flip round and come into downward dog. So I'm going to push up, looking through the rear towards my feet. And I normally say to clients as well, when doing this, do a little take the dog for a walk. So just flex and extend through your knees and your legs. So one leg at a time, to straightening out my right leg, bending my left, and then change. And once you get yourself into a nice comfortable position and you feel like you've got a little bit more mobility there, just easing back, looking back to your feet, bring your hips as high as you can. From there now I'm going to come forward into an exercise called pigeon. So I'm going to start here with my main pigeon pose here. I'm going to show you the progression first, and then I'm going to show you a regression exercise of how you can make it a little bit easier if you need to. So the progression from here is to work your elbows down to the floor. And if you feel comfortable there and you've got the mobility to do it, then you're going to try and stretch out, easing forward, bringing your forehead down towards the floor. Okay, I'm going to head again 20 seconds in that posture, come back into that downward dog and that flex and extension, and again through the calves, and then forward onto the other leg. And again, you might find that you're a little bit tighter in one side. Don't stress out about that. It might be that you want to hold the posture for a little bit longer and just easing forward if you can. Okay, and come back again into that downward dog. Bring my hips nice and high. And you'll get that great stretch going through your hamstrings all the way down to your calves. Now, I did promise that I would show you the regression, the easier option. So either on your sofa, on a chair, whether it be on your coffee table, wherever you're comfortable. If you are using a coffee table, I'd always recommend padding it so it's not uncomfortable on your knees. But I'm going to use my sofa. So I'm going to come in here, I'm going to do an elevated pigeon. So I'm going to bring my front leg up, like so, here. I'm going to come forward to the camera so you can see what a little bit better option. There. Okay, still getting that stretch through that hip and through those glutes, and I change over leg. Okay, right, so we've worked through our legs, worked through our hamstrings, worked through our hip flexors, and a little bit on our glutes. Now we're going to move on to doing a little bit of work on our lower back, which I know is a problem area for lots of guys my age. So I'm just going to ease my knees in towards my chest. Just allow my lower back to settle. And then just going to extend my left leg out to the floor. Just ease my right leg across my body. And I'm not forcing anything here. I'm just allowing that weight of my knee to drop gently over to the floor. And if you can extend your arm out and look along that arm, that's fantastic. And again, this weight here, if you want to ease a little bit more pressure onto that knee, that's fine. But listen to your body. You don't need to force anything. Ideally, the weight of your knee will start to gently drop towards the floor, and you'll get that lovely stretch coming through in your back here. I'm going to bring that back in, squeeze in like so, extend the right leg out, bring the left leg across the body. You might find, like me, when I'm doing this, I get a little pop in my back every now and again. If that's the case, don't worry too much. There's nothing to really worry about unless there's pain there when you're doing it. And I say to clients all the time, when you're doing anything, always listen to your body. You should never feel that you're in pain. You should feel like it's a progression throughout, but you're not feel like there's any pain. All right, so next up now we're going to go into what I used to call was a teddy bear stretch. Some call it a pancake stretch, but I used to call it a teddy bear. In this position here, you look a little bit like a teddy bear. So from here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to reach towards my right toe, but I'm going to elevate up with my left hand towards the ceiling and then come over towards that right toe. Again, this is a great stretch into the bar back, into the lower part of our back, and also through that oblique and a tiny bit into the top part of our glutes, potentially for some of you. Okay, ease back in, and then again, start with the left hand onto the left foot. As soon as I'm doing this, I can feel a real good stretch going through like my hamstring and my sciatic nerve as well as I'm pulling on that toe. If you can't reach your toe, that's fine. You're going to reach towards your ankle or your shin. Okay, the focus being on that right hand now, coming up towards the ceiling and then easing over nice and gently towards the toe. And where you get to is in completely down to your flexibility and your level. So if you're looking at me and you're thinking, oh, I can go further than that, fantastic. If you're not at this posture yet, that's okay. It's all a work in progress. I'm going to ease back in and then gently back over to the other side again, seeing if I can take it an inch or two lower this time. Okay, and relax. I'm speeding up a little bit, but obviously I would expect you guys to do 20 to 30 seconds on here. And again, reaching up and easing over. Okay, and relax. So there's just 4 stretches there. Good mobility for hamstrings, good mobility for pretty much all your lower body and also your lower back. So that's it, guys. If you try those 4 out, it should hopefully help with your mobility, which in turn will help you with your strength when you're in the gym. So that's it. Peace out. Thank you so much for joining me.